This is definitely a hard judgment call on what it is you want. Very easy to do all of this. So for example... Alright, I'm pretty excited about this one. I got to touch base with the team over at Victrix during EVO, and they went ahead and sent me the Pro KO. I'm particularly interested in this because of how they have their button switching technology set up in here, but we'll get to that once we get to the unboxing. And a quick disclaimer, they didn't tell me to say anything in particular, so all my thoughts and opinions are my own, but a big thanks to them for sending this out. I've got a feeling this is going to be a good one. So as always, we'll go over the packaging. It's pretty basic. I mean, we always know that we love seeing the branding on everything. I do like that the back has the picture of it on there. But nothing too special. One thing to note, since we're here off the bat, this is also an officially licensed PlayStation product, which means it will work for PS5, PS4, and PC. And I do believe they have an Xbox version. Okay, as usual, I went ahead and I pre-cut the tape and partially opened the box so that it wouldn't make any bad noises. We'll go ahead and pull this off and we can get the reveal together. Come on, buddy. Okay, that's nice. There's a little less packaging around the sides, it looks like, than what I'm used to seeing in these kind of sticks, but still looks pretty good. It has that layer of plastic that we like to see. I don't know if you can see it here, but it has like the name of the stick, and I'm not sure what this number is. Maybe it's its serial number, which I kind of like that it's in the box just there for me if I need to look something up. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out the stick and see what's underneath, because I don't see the wire or anything, which means it's probably all underneath it. Alright. This is light. It's a lot lighter than I actually expected it to be. It's not a bad thing necessarily. It's definitely heavier than the Quanba Sapphire, but it's probably lighter than the Empress or like the Hitbox Ultra. Okay, this is interesting. Unlabeled boxes. This is pretty nice tight packaging here. This is like really dense memory foam style foam, which is unusual for packaging, so I kind of like that. Let's go ahead and pull all this out and see what's going on. Okay. Go ahead and get this out of the way and let's open up these little boxes. Alright, so there's two mystery boxes. One is smaller than the other, so we're going to go with mystery box number 1, which is the smaller one. Ah, this is the cable. Now, I've really always been kind of a fan of the Victrix cable's coloring and everything. This doesn't look as reinforced as I would necessarily like it to be. It is just a traditional C cable. We all know how I feel about C ports. I'm not a fan, but this is really pretty, and this color purple might be like my second favorite color behind lavender itself. I don't know if you guys have seen my walls, but I'm a lavender fan. I do like this has like a cable holder here. This is kind of nice. This is interesting. I could probably use it for a couple of different things. You probably set it up on stuff. Like, this is a cool little like add-on. I was just about to throw this away, get it out of my way, and I noticed a manual popped out when I grabbed the cord. Now, this is a fake-ass manual. Doesn't actually have anything going on inside it. I always prefer there to be a physical manual in every fight stick. It just makes things easier. But there's a QR code to scan, and I'm happy with that. Boom, we got a manual. Mystery box 2. Oh, that's nice. I am actually super into this. So it is a carrying bag, or like a carrying sleeve, for your stick. Okay. Boom. See? Look at that. This is super nice. I am always a fan of when fight sticks add accoutrements like that into their sticks. This might be simple monkey brain me, but more things equal good. So I'm going to go ahead and clear out this space and we'll get the stick reveal itself. Ooh, that's kind of sleek. Look at this. Oh, the pops of purple. Oh, this pad, I was just talking about this with the Sapphire, that I'm a huge fan of when people use their like non-slip pad to do like designs with it. This is sick. This is sick, and this feels nice. This is like aluminum or something like that. Hold on, let me look. I got sent my first reviewer guide with this, and it had a bunch of extra details about the stick, so really cool. My first time getting a reviewer guide from anybody, so thanks guys for getting me to that point. But yes, this is aluminum. Okay, so I just did a quick look through on the manual. Not super hard reading into it, but a quick look. So some things to highlight here is they have a button dedicated to the headphone jack. So you can hold this down and push down and up to turn up the volume, turn down the volume. You can also like double tap to turn on a mic and turn off a mic. This controls your lights. This they call the create button. It does a couple of things, and this is your function button. Same thing, it does a few different things. Then you have R3, L3, and your start, and of course PlayStation button and touchpad. And I forgot to mention the tournament lockout switch right here. I accidentally discovered something off camera, so I can't recreate my initial response. But this has the same kind of door thing that the Quanba Sapphire had going on. But look at this! It ejects! It's just like you push it and it opens up. So this is still kind of flimsy feeling, just like the Quanba Sapphire, but like you're not playing with it as much because it's also just clicks straight up. Like the Sapphire, you had to like push it in and do a few other things. So this feels a lot like more intuitive to use and a lot safer to use. By safer, I mean safer for the stick, not me. Let's get to this main event. For anyone who knows about this stick, there is a feature that it has that's very interesting. So we are going to click in these four guys here. Flip this bad boy over, and then grab this top plate, and boop, the top plate removes. So the top plate's held together by those four switches and then these magnets right here. So you kind of have to grab the top plate in a specific way to slide it off. But once you get it off, you have access to inside of here. Now if you didn't notice before, I'll go ahead and pop this back on real quick. But you see that there's these slots right here where you can put in buttons. This is kind of how you access that area there in order to switch out buttons if you want to. So this is another micro switch fight stick. We all know I prefer traditional buttons, but the cool thing about this specific stick is that you can actually switch out the micro switches to whatever you want. These buttons are actually very similar to the Punk Workshop buttons. So the idea is that you're able to hot swap this at any point that you want to, or even just change buttons if you're feeling like something's not working right. So you take your inbuilt tools, always great to see that there's tools that go with it, and then you can either grab right here at these notches, here and here, or these notches here and here. You just pull straight up. You want to be a little careful because these are kind of in there tight and they can pop out really hard. So you kind of want to just carefully yank it off. Oh. I recovered the outer ring. So you do want to be careful with this. It's not exact science. Things can go kind of wonky whenever you pull any sort of micro switch stuff. So just be careful with that. But the idea is that this cap sits on top of the micro switch. So, you know, it's like a traditional keycap. And then you can see the little slots on the inside here and here. This plastic ring clicks in over top of the keycap. So you have this here, like so. And you pop this in here. Boom. Functioning button. You're basically going to use your key puller to grab these two little tabs. There's one just above it and just below it. I'm not sure if that comes up on the camera very well, but there's two little tabs there. You'll use your key puller. You'll just kind of click them in the spot and pull it out. It's pretty easy. Again, you want to be careful. They can kind of go flying and weird things can happen because it's all kind of tightly set together, but it's very simple. And the great thing about the Pro KO is that it's very easy to do all of this. So like I'm just going to go ahead and reassemble the button really fast. Just got to line up the X. Button's back. So as you can see, there's 4 extra keys and button pieces, 4 empty slots. So you can switch these out and add things on where you want them. So for example, that went flying. So that's why you got to be careful. But for example, you can pull out a plunger and just make an assembly. So we're going to go ahead and carefully get this guy out. You do want to be careful not to damage, when you're doing anything with micro switches, you want to be careful not to damage these little prongs here and the holes that they go into, which are, let's see if we can get this in the camera light okay. I don't know if you can see that all right, but which are those two little holes there. So just be careful not to damage those things, because those are the ones that'll stop the button from working. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble this button real quick. It's good and in there. Pull this out. So it comes in upside down. Like, I don't know if you can see right here. If you look right here, this is actually in upside down. The cap's on the bottom and then the ring's up here, so you're going to have to pull it out. Put the button in. Boom. I have an extra button. And as a quick demonstration, I've just got a razor yellow switch here. It's just a linear switch. It does fit inside of the Pro KO. If you do want to switch out the switches you have in here, damn, that's me saying switch a lot, you can. It's pretty simple. You just kind of do it. So I have preferences too. Like you can hear how these keys sound, how the linear switches sound, quieter and more muted. I prefer muted like sounds on my stick. So I'll probably replace these switches that are inside here, not because these are particularly bad, but because they're just louder than I like. which is a nice option to have with this stick specifically because a lot of them it can be a little weird or wonky to do it with. This is very easy, and again, it's a little bit like the Punk Workshop buttons where you can just kind of put any switch you want into it and the button fits with the switches. It also means that you can store your own types of keys in here too. Like, I didn't really even think about that, but like the storage is kind of universal. Side note, I was moving stuff around and the lid fell over on me. The top of the box is branded. Look at this. This is nice. Alright, so you guys kind of get the vibe of what's going on here. I'm going to go ahead and put everything away. The tool's in here. I love having the tool built into the stick. That's super nice. Go ahead and just pop this back on top here. Boom. These are the two buttons I added in right here. And then you want to make sure that you come back here, lock this bad boy back up so it doesn't accidentally pop open on you. You'll see here, like what's locking it in place is these purple tabs. On this side you won't see the tabs. See? So that's what these little like things are that we're switching over, is those little tabs. And this is the main draw for this stick. It has hot swappable buttons that are a little bit more like real buttons than the micro switch like type buttons that you'll see in most sticks. In fact, here, I'll just show you. So you see how this has like substantial height to it, and it has like a ring, like a more traditional arcade button on it. Unlike something like the Hot 42 or the Empress, where it's like this more low set, like just a keycap. So all that's here, you can kind of actually see it, is it's the micro switch and a keycap, that's it. As opposed to this, where it has the outer ring and the keycap, which gives it a more raised profile. It makes it feel a little bit more substantial. Nothing wrong with this style. Some arcade sticks that are made with this style can't support multiple types of buttons. The Hot 42 can, but this is guaranteed to support basically all types of micro switches. There will be a handful of exceptions, but this can support a lot of them. And since we're here, let's go ahead and do our size comparisons. So it's a little bit bigger than like most of the Hot 42 line. It's got about an inch on each side to the Hot 42 line. It is substantially smaller than the Quanba Obsidian, which is what I kind of expected, but it does have about the same height as it. And of course we have the Hitbox Ultra. It is shorter than the Hitbox Ultra by about 2 inches, but the Hitbox Ultra actually has a slimmer factor when it comes down to the height of it. One other quick comparison I want to make is the depth of each stick. So the KO is actually about twice as thick almost as the Hot 42T, and it's only slightly smaller in thickness than the Hitbox Ultra. I'm a pretty big fan of this thickness because I really like how the Hitbox Ultra feels on my lap. It's about an inch. This is like a little less than an inch. And though I haven't played with this yet, I'm pretty sure it's going to feel similar once it's sitting on my lap. Obviously it doesn't have the length, but like when it comes down to the height of it, it's going to feel very similar. So I actually like that if you prefer having a stick that's a little bit taller than all the super thin guys that have been floating around out here. One other side thing I want to note before we get to the button check. I've been touching this a lot. My hands are kind of sweating from me doing the review with all the lights on me. And I'm not leaving fingerprints, which is really nice. A lot of these sticks we leave fingerprints on, and like I'll tell you more once I get like to locals and I play on it for a little while when I come back and do the rest of my review, but I don't think I'm leaving fingerprints. I also didn't notice until I was just messing around now, this has a nice little diagonal slant to it, which we all know I'm obsessed with. I'm a big fan of that. Yeah, that feels nice actually. And now for a button check. Now I'm about to go to locals, so I wanted to go ahead and do the first boot up with you guys real quick before I leave to test this stick out. Pretty. That's nice. So it starts off with the purple. I'm a fan. Alright, so I just got back from my local, and turns out I missed out in the earlier review that there is a spot to put your strap. You actually put it in 2 different spots, so you can have it at the bottom or the top. So, strap options. As we all know, if you've watched any of my videos, I love it when companies provide the option for a strap. It's something I think is almost mandatory on every stick nowadays. So I'm going to cut to the chase. This is a phenomenal product. I didn't expect to like this much. I was looking at the button spacing before I started playing on it, and it seemed kind of weird. Like there's like different size gaps between the fingers, but when I laid my hands on it, It was almost perfect, like it perfectly fit my hands. I had some of my other locals try it out and it didn't fit their hands as comfortably, but for me, this was like perfect hand placement. I can say that I was sorely lacking a button up top. I kind of wish like either this pinky button or this extra button here had been up here somewhere and they had shifted everything down some. That's a personal preference thing. I think a lot of these fight sticks that are thin micro switch type sticks usually have buttons up here, and I've kind of gotten used to that. In fact, I have one of my combo extensions facing up now, so I am missing a button up here, like I wish it was there. However, like all the button placement just felt good. And these buttons, though I don't like silvers personally, they feel great. They're springy. They're like, this feels right. I don't know how else to describe it. It feels correct. The only thing that I was a little bit worried about, and I think is fair, is that these are kind of tall and can get caught in your bag, which is why I'm assuming they've included something like this, the Victrix bag, but I never really use stuff like that. It's kind of an extra cumbersome thing to me. So I ended up putting this in my laptop sleeve instead of my laptop. I just put my laptop in the main chamber, and that was perfect. This actually fits like, this is almost the exact same size as my laptop. In fact, hold on. You see here's my laptop. Like they're almost the exact same size. Not quite, but very close. But this is something you'll need to be careful of putting in and out of your bag. These could get caught. They're not quite as low profile as other sticks in this style. I do think that that's a preferential thing because I actually like these buttons better than most of the other buttons. If you remember when I did my Hot 42 U16 review, they also had raised up buttons like this and I loved it then too. There is two pain points with this stick though. The first and foremost is the price point. This is pretty expensive. It is $270. Now with that $270 price point, you get the aluminum body. This also has programming done in the remote. There's no external program. You can change all the LEDs and the button patterns and everything in the remote itself, but it's still really expensive. Like we just did the Quanba Sapphire review and that's $180. You can basically get all the same features, granted in a cheaper frame with, in my opinion, worse buttons, but it's significantly cheaper. The other big pain point is the customizability. We're in a situation again with these sort of like thin fight sticks that are just like motherboards with micro switches slapped on it, that there's not a lot of options with it. I can't really put art in here. I think these can be laser etched, but like there's no art going in here. If the C port goes bad, as I've always said about these C port sticks, you're kind of screwed. Like you can't use traditional buttons, you have to use some type of micro switches, which isn't a bad thing. That's why it can be thin, but you don't have the button options. It does look like there's some aftermarket keycaps that you can get to replace the actual like button tops themselves. But you have to keep these like rings in here because they are kind of like proprietary, the way that they click in and click out. There's not no customization, but it is a small amount of customization. So if that's something that you want out of a fight stick, this might not be for you. And it being at this higher price point kind of puts it in striking range of the Empress. And the Empress has like heavy customization that you can do with it. Granted, it doesn't have the cool raised buttons, it has the low profile style buttons, but it's still more customizable for a little bit more money. And then same thing for just a little bit more than the $270 that this is, you get yourself a Hitbox Ultra, which is very customizable and has like traditional arcade buttons that you could replace. However, this falls in the same kind of area as the Quanba Sapphire. Albeit a lot more expensive, this is an incredible buy for somebody who is happy just to use something out of the box and not do heavy mod work. It has every bell and whistle that the Quanba Sapphire has, but a higher quality. Again, internal programming for buttons, LEDs, you have the hot swappable stuff from the inside, it has all of its own tools built in, and it's PlayStation certified, so you don't need to worry about your PS5, PS4 compatibility. It has a headphone jack, it has a place for a strap. This is a high quality piece of tech all the way around. And I could definitely recommend it to somebody who's just trying to compete. Albeit C-ports really do worry me when it comes down to competition. The price point's just a little tough because you can get something with almost all of the same features for significantly cheaper. The Hot 42 has a lot of the same exact features as this, granted, much lower quality. And then the Quanba Sapphire has almost all the exact same features, just more flimsy feeling. So it's almost hard to justify the price point here when those ones have the same kind of stuff going on. My final thoughts on this are pretty simple. This has made a very strong argument for me to switch to it, to actually leave my Hitbox Ultra and play on this. I'm going to be switching back and forth between the two for a little while, I think, because I really love how this feels. I'm just sad about the lack of customizability and the C-port. And it does lack some of the other features that I like in a stick, but the button placement's awesome. It's not quite as good as the cross-up was, but this is really close. I can definitely recommend this if you have the money, but it's really expensive. And at this type of price point, you get something much more customizable and much more repair friendly, but that's only if that's something you want. If you just want something out of the box that's a fantastic product, this is your guy. There's no adapters, there's no like upgrades you need to make. You just plug it in and it does the thing, and it's awesome, and you can add a few extra buttons if you feel like it with the internal mechanisms that are already there, and it's super easy. This is definitely a hard judgment call on what it is you want, but this is a damn good stick. As always, get out there and support your locals, or you can come support mine.